And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, earlier this year, I reviewed a game called Luchador Mexican Wrestling Dice. The review of mine was not very positive. I thought it was kind of overwrought and silly, and you just rolled dice to see what would happen. I was told by multiple people that I was incorrect in my assessment, including the folks who made the game, but that happens all the time. But they did make a second edition of the game, and I had a chance to look at the second edition and revisit some things with a minor change in rules, and also the changes in rules that they added in the advanced game in here. And I also played it with some different groups. Does that change how I feel? Watch and find out. The first thing players will do is pick their character, and here you can take Lady Kabuki, and this is basically her special moves that she has. Each player has essentially the same special moves that they will have, although they're said differently. So, Ay 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 Dolores, and La Cobra Vuelo, and Hielo, and Anita Dinamata, and El Perlito, and Bam Bam and Fuego, and El Charlo Negro, and La Tormenta Muerta. And yes, I cannot pronounce Spanish very well. On this side, though, each player, whoever they are, so we're looking at La Tormenta Muerta, they have a strength, which is a bonus. So he can force an opponent to re-roll a wrestling die of his choice. That's a special ability he has. He also has a weakness. If he rolls a Viva Luchador result in a pin die, he gets +1 to his strength as normal, but as an opponent gets an instant free pin roll. So it's easy to counter-pin him. And then he has a killer combination. If he rolls these exact things, he counts as a hit die, lucha die, and a pin die. And these are only used in the advanced game, which is, in my opinion, the only way you should play. Over here, you keep track of basically his health. And once he's past 14, he's easier to pin. He's pinnable at that point, and he can be knocked out. It also shows how much damage the green die does. And you can also play a 4-player tag team, in which case you have a slightly different track. Players will be playing on this board. I'm just kidding. This board comes in a box, but players will probably almost never play on this board because the box comes with a 3-dimensional ring. What? All right, this is pretty cool. Now, I'm not very good at tying these strings in the ring, but I guess you can make them very bouncy. So what players are going to be doing is they're going to be rolling dice into the ring. So it might be purple versus red, and they roll dice in. Now, if any dice go out of the ring, they don't count. So you got to be careful how you roll dice in the ring, and that's pretty fun in and of itself. If you roll any pins, you can use them to pin your opponent, but if they're not pinnable or you don't want to, you can re-roll those the first time. And as far as I know, and I've read about this, you are allowed to try to knock your opponent's dice out with those re-rolls. That was pretty terrible. I knocked my own dice out. I should be punched. After you've rolled the dice, you'll then take the hits that you have and compare them to your opponent's blocks and or counters. So here purple has 2 counters and 2 hits. Red has 2 counters and 1 hit. So this purple counter does nothing, while red counters both purple's hits and does 2 hits to purple. And then with this hit, purple counters that and does 1 hit to red. Now, when you hit the opponent, you're going to be rolling the green die, and that doesn't have to stay in the ring. And depending, you might do a chair smash or a backflip, or, grab the guy by wrap your arm around his neck. And each of those will do different damage. It shows you here. You have the backhand chop, forearm smash, drop kick, choke hold, chair smash, and table slam, which will do 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, or 3 damage. You can also take 2 hits if you do them and roll the lucha die. Now this die will do different things when you roll it. Hopefully you will roll one of your special moves, the lightning spike, the twister, and the meteor storm, which could do 4, 5, or 7 damage. And then you read it. La Tormenta launches himself from the top rope. Pressing his knees to his chest, he tumbles in midair before crashing like a rock onto his unfortunate opponent. So you can roll that. But these also have a chance for you to be stunned, where you'll roll fewer dice next turn, have nothing happen to you also when you roll these dice. So this is kind of a risky die to roll. Now, when someone's pinnable, you can roll the pin die and see if you can pin them down. Now, when you are pinned, what you're going to do is you have 3 chances to break out of that pin. So you're going to roll these dice, and you're trying to roll 3 blocks or counters. So here I've rolled 1 counter. A counter basically stops a hit and does a hit back. A block just blocks one, by the way. So I've rolled 1, and everyone counts 3. And then I got 2 more rolls left. 2! Ah, good, I got them. I'm out of the pin. But if I don't get them, by the time the referee counts out, then you're out. You can also be knocked out. And there's even a chance on the very first saving roll that if you roll 3 blocks or 3 counters, you have the reverse pin and you can go after your other opponent. So that's pretty much the rules of the game. There's also some tag team rules where you tag in and out and attack other players. And the advanced rules are where you add in the Luchador's strengths and weaknesses. Each of them has different strengths. Like, for example, Dolores. For the following round, only block results rolled by her opponent will count. So hell hath no fury like her. So if she ever takes 4 points of damage, the next round she just goes berserk. But her weakness is chokehold results only do 1 point of damage rather than the normal 2 point of damage. There's also killer combinations I mentioned before, where when you roll a certain combination, you can do something like she has a good chance of pinning people down. And then there's also a 4-way brawl, a cage match. There's quite a few things in the game that you can play. Now, it's not often that I have a reverse pin, in my opinion, on games. I almost always, the first time I play a game, that's how I feel about it through various playthroughs. I might like it more and more and more. I might like it less and less and less. Sometimes my opinion changes from bad to good and good to bad, but that doesn't very rarely happen. The first times I played it, I just wasn't very impressed with it. Playing this game, though, yeah, it's pretty fun. And what's the difference? Well, first of all, the 3-dimensional ring doesn't hurt, okay? That doesn't hurt. But, the special abilities that each people have, that's what I said in my initial review. I wish they had special abilities. Well, they do have special abilities now. And the way that everything's written, and then the fact that you can use reroll pins to try and knock your opponents out adds a bit of dexterity fun to the game. And then if you play with some pretty fun people to play the game with who really get into the theme and into the whole luchador or even WWE wrestling style, that just gets really silly and fun. And I'm not going to say that there's any great shakes of strategy in this game. You roll poorly, you're not going to do well. But there is a lot of entertaining value here where you're rolling the dice and you can re-roll the pin or go for the pin. You have that choice, or change them hit dice out to go for the major lucha smackdown on your opponent, or looking to roll your special combo. I'll only ever play advanced version on this. Tag teams are fun to some degree, although if your opponent doesn't want to tag you in, your teammate doesn't want to tag you in, there's that kind of annoyance there. But the one-on-one match or the Royal Rumble brawl thing, very entertaining. So, disregard my first review. Well, I suppose it stands for that version of the game. But fun. I was impressed. They've taken the theme of this and really amped it up. So the nicer components, the special abilities, the fact that you can throw your re-rolls at other dice, the special combos that each wrestler has, and playing with people who are really fun and get into the theme, all that combined has taken us from a game that I did not like at all to one that I think is very fun. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!